have 2 seasons of my podcast, and it was about like the professionals that people should hire before divorcing and then through the process. But now I really want to talk to people who have been divorced
Got it. Okay.
and have got through the process and what they feel they did right, which they things that they wish they would have known. Um, you know, you've been divorced for 4 years, so I'm sure there's things now. I know I've been divorced for, gosh, over 10 years. Um, so many professionals that I had no idea were even available. I think most people think that hiring an attorney is what they need, and there's so much more to it than that. So, um,
Yeah.
if you're willing to share your story, a little bit of your story with me, so that we can make sure that I think it's the right fit. But I would just like to make sure.
Yeah. Like in that context, like I would say the thing that I did well in terms of doing divorce well, the thing that I did well was when we had gone through therapy, and when we got to the point where it's like, okay, this is happening, and it was very much the classic. She was upset. I was trying to get her back. All the classic, that worked and didn't work sort of things. But I don't know why. Well, no, I know exactly why I did this. But when we finally got to the point where like this is happening, I said I want to be the one to file the divorce papers. And I did that because I just knew in my gut, I didn't really have it like worked out, but I knew that I wanted to have some agency in this situation. I wanted to be an active partner, or not so much a partner, even a participant in the situation. And that that one action, because all it was really me going down to the courthouse, right, and filing the papers. Like it didn't really take any extra work. It was an hour of my time, sort of thing. But that one thing laid the foundation for me to be able to, I think, more quickly get over the frustration and the anger, and then start working on building a co-parenting relationship. And to this day, we're still good friends, and so I'm happy of that. And so that's if there's any tip I have for guys, it's like, be the one. Don't be the one to be saying like, oh, 70% of women file divorce papers and all that kind of stuff. No, it'd be like, no, like if your divorce is happening, if you've done the work to try to make it work, and you've put in your effort. Like I can say we put in the work, and it didn't work. Like
It's really interesting, Joey, because I truly feel that in order to make it work, both parties have to be participating, but also to make it get through divorce and get it behind you in the most amicable sort of way, both parties have to be involved.
Yeah.
And both parties have to be aiming for the same goal. So, I get that, but that's actually some really interesting and really good insight from the men's point of view.
Yeah, it really is.
The statistics are most women are the ones that file for divorce.
Yeah, and see, the part where I come on that is I'm like, look, the guys know the marriage sucks. Like I knew we were not happy. I mean, like it did not take any rocket science for, I knew that we were so when people quote that number, I push back. I'm like, well, why isn't the guy filing divorce? The guy is not happy. Like I can guarantee you, I know I wasn't happy. I know I wanted more in our relationship. And so I know that whole idea of like, well, it came out of nowhere. I'm like, come on, that's just a lie. Like let's just be honest here. Like, and
it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, no, like, and so like the guy, I'm not saying all guys should file for divorce, but I think if we're honest, a lot more guys would be filing for divorce if, and I think it takes recognizing, like, we tried to put in the work. We did the work, and we didn't win that game. That's just the reality of it. It sucks. It's frustrating. It's hard. But
your friends, you are friends today, which is I sometimes miraculous.
Yeah, because we have one child. We have a 19-year-old son who's it's a 19-year-old son with all the, and he has OCD, and he went through a bunch of really hard. And so if we were fighting, I mean, raising a kid is hard enough. Raising a kid with any sort of, I'm not saying he's special needs at all, but like any sort of, out of the normal challenge is exponentially hard. And then if you were to do that in a way that you're just angry at each other, like I don't, it would have been awful. Like it would have been beyond awful. So, and
you did do something right there for sure.
Yeah.
In just the steps that you took. Did you found you didn't do therapy during divorce, or did you go through therapy during divorce?
No, we went to a marriage counselor, and we, like I said, we tried. Like I can look back with a certain, now could we have done better? Of course, like there's always, but I am happy with the effort that we put in to try to make it work. And we had, it was a lot of stuff. And there's a lot of,
when you have a child and divorcing and then continuing to raise them. Yeah. That's why more people should be aware that there are parenting coaches through divorce, because I'm not going to say you're lucky, but I'm going to say you're lucky that you and your ex-wife were able to move through it relatively smoothly, so to speak.
Yeah.
And so he was a young teenager when you divorced.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's hard on the kids, no matter what.
Yeah, it's hard. I mean, I'm not. Ideally, every kid grows up in a relationship where there's love and passion and romance and fun and play and all that kind of stuff. That's ideal world.
Yeah.
That wasn't in our cards, and but I will say, like, I think to my credit, I just knew that having agency in the matter was important. And I didn't want to be that guy that I'd heard so many times, 70% of women, it's all women's fault and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, I know I wasn't perfect in our relationship, like hands down. She wasn't perfect, but I know I wasn't. And so and I also, the other parts I knew, I'm talking a lot here, I don't know why.
I'm really interested.
Yeah, I knew, like, in reality, I knew I wasn't happy. Like if I was being honest, like I probably should have filed for divorce, or I should have brought up divorce a couple years earlier. Like if I was really being honest, like I at least could have said, like, we cannot continue like this. Many years. You start working on things. I could easily have said, like, look, what we have here is, isn't working. And I'm for certain she would agree.
Right.
Now,
do you agree that sometimes it takes just one of the partners to at least bring up the topic, because the other one maybe is fearful of bringing it up?
Yeah, and I think the problem is that we don't want to bring it up. It's so scary. It triggers so much fear and failure or sense of failure and the things that I've learned since then is one of the big things that you have. Anytime you set a goal, a fear is going to come up. So like we set a goal like buying a house. Instantly, all my stuff of like, no way I can buy a house in Northern California. This won't work. All that kind of stuff. And I didn't have the awareness or the understanding to identify those fears, set them aside, and then take actions. I was operating on top of those, which would always just, and eventually would did drag me down. And so I wasn't operating at my best, which then she got frustrated because she's like, we talked about this. Why aren't we doing this? Like, why are you struggling so hard? And that triggered her own fears, her own doubts and worries and concerns. And so we ended up basically fearing, with each other.
Right.
And
I mean,
yeah,
because you mentioned when you're in the farm, you filled out a burnout.
yeah.
Was that with just with work, with life, with
Yeah,
marriage?
that was like right when we officially got divorced. I kind of got hit. Yeah, like we got the papers got signed. I think in like November, December time, and then in January, I it just all came kind of
Yeah,
crumbling
right.
down because
Yeah,
it was like post COVID. I was living alone. My business was struggling. Just that divorce, like everything, and
yeah,
I just woke up and one day I'm like completely exhausted, completely done, and I said I can't be anybody but myself. I just don't have the energy.
yeah,
And
yeah,
and then a couple days later I said, okay, well, okay, if I can only be myself, then who am I and how can I be more of that?
yeah. Right. Joey, I think this conversation that we would have would be, I think, really fascinating for me as a woman from a man's perspective, and also for my listeners, because I've talked to a few men, regarding divorce and stuff, but I mainly coach women, mainly coach women over 40. I have a focus on the gray divorce, so I think I can learn a lot,
Yeah.
and you bring a lot of perspective from the man's point of view. This is actually something I've wanted to do for a while,
Okay.
uh, get a man's perspective, and yeah, you've said that all the things that women feel, like you're fearful, um, something has to be done, but you're afraid to talk about it, and you just keep suppressing those emotions and putting them, just shove them down. They'll be fine.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And then, yeah, and then of course, it's
Yeah.
almost like January, the snow hit, and you just fell apart.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
that's what happens.
I talked to my ex. We've talked about like that time since
Yeah,
then, and we were talking about like I was like how like what about sex and romance, and she's like I did not want to give you anything that because I didn't think you were giving me enough, like and
interesting. Yes.
which I can totally understand, and what I learned from that is like it's never any one thing. Like there was no cheating, there's none of that. Um, but
Which is good. Which
all
is
that,
nice.
all the kind of the mud, the layers and layers of mud, just
Yeah,
you
it
know,
keeps building.
just keeps
Doesn't it?
building, and all of a sudden you look, you're just like, I do not want to do anything physical with that person.
Right.
You know,
Absolutely. What do you do now, Joey? What is your business?
I coach people on core values. I
Oh, I love
basically
it. I had a feeling that you were some inspirational speaker.
Yeah,
You have
I basically figured out that it's really hard to have the life that you want without knowing your values, and then how to use them to create that. Is the
yeah,
is
yeah.
the
That Now, did you do this before divorce, or
it,
did this come out of, or did
I
you
I
find?
had been in coaching and kind of awareness work before, but the burnout really taught me to because when you're burned out, you don't have anything besides your values. Like it was really just like, what are
Got
my
to go
va-
somewhere.
yeah, they got to go somewhere, right? Like and it was it and what I learned is like I just had too much stuff. I had too many ideas, too much. It was just too complicated, if that makes
Yeah,
sense. And
it's
I was operating on top of all these fears. And
yeah,
so what the burnout taught me in my recovery from that and a variety of things is that you get your core values down to three, nice and simple, minor connection, curiosity, and fun. And then you have a system for applying your values to a goal or to a challenge. Like um, how I want to have a great sex life. You have that goal. What do your values say? And as soon as you say that, of course, some fears will come up. You know, we don't have
yeah,
time. She won't like me. I'll say the wrong thing. Whatever it is, and then you can say, okay, what do my values say to do? So, how can I, in that situation, it's like how can I bring a sense of connection or fun and curiosity to our sex life? What would that say for me to do? And in my
right,
experience, it will give you interesting ideas that push yourself a little bit, but still are aligned with who you are. It's not going to have you do something that's not
right, right.
aligned.
Yeah, like you're still being true to yourself, but like I was step out of your comfort zone once in a while.
Yeah. It's like, a little bit of stretch, and
Maybe yes, but
yeah.
uh, which again, this conversation would really be great at expanding on, because yes, divorce is awful. Yes, it's a trudge, but the really cool part is that what's next part, and what can that other side look like, and we get to create that for ourselves.
Well, yeah. Well, like for me, I say it's cool if you can learn from it.
Oh,
If
absolutely.
you haven't
No,
learned,
it's
if
like,
you haven't learned from your divorce, you're just going to repeat it over and over again. And that,
oh no,
yeah,
absolutely, absolutely. You have to really be conscious. Well, and that's why I always have a focus on, let's take care of ourselves. Let's really work on healing and self-care and finding out who we are. Maybe it is just finding out what those three values are.
yeah. Um,
Yeah, I
one
like that. No,
one
great.
thing I do, and this is always just a choice of the podcast person, or the
Yeah,
host. I have a form that allows people to identify their three values in about 5 minutes. I can send that to you ahead of time. You could, if you want to go through it, then we can talk from a foundation of a little bit of understanding, and
yeah,
and then that way you can share your experience of, like, and I find that good.
absolutely.
Sometimes people are like, no, I don't want to know anything about you until the interview. Um,
No. That's why I wanted to have didn't always have pre-interview calls, but that's why I'm wanting to do it, because this season is just a little different. I'm not talking to a divorce professional, the lawyers, the CDFAs and all that. These are real people who went through the real struggle of divorce that
yeah.
I want to know. So I would love that.
Okay.
I'm all over that
Yeah.
sort of thing. I always want to find out more about myself.
That's awesome. Yeah, I'll email it to you. Like I said, it takes about 5 minutes. It's not
Yeah.
complicated.
Yeah,
And
so
yeah.
I'm going to send you I record the podcasts. I'm going to send you the booking link,
Okay.
um, and we can get a date set and
Awesome.
get this book. I really look forward to our conversation. Normally, the conversation is always very organic. I don't have questions or anything. Runs about 30 minutes, but if it runs 30, 40, 45 minutes,
Yeah.
I don't cut the conversation short. If it's going and it's flowing, I have a feeling that we're going to have a lot to talk about.
Yeah. That'd be great. And then my coach is asking me to ask of this, just a request. We're trying to build up my Google SEO, and so if you can, or my request is that you put my name in the title. You know,
Oh, absolutely.
and this is one of these things that for some it's like very obvious, but in looking at my past, we just noticed that it's not always there. And then then also, if you in the thumbnail that you use, if you could actually just say whatever the title is, but basically do the title as the thumbnail.
Yes. Yeah. Sure.
And that,
When I do the title for the podcast, I always say interview with.
you're right. Okay, and it's one of those things, like, it's totally obvious. It seems totally obvious, but and that's just my coach saying, you got to you got to do this. So
Awesome. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure meeting you, Joe, and I
yeah,
look forward to
for sure. And do you get a lot of comments when Hannah Gadsby did Nanette? Did you get a lot of comments?
When what?
Do you know Hannah Gadsby's her show Nanette?
Oh, I don't.
Oh my gosh. You've got it. It was on Netflix. It may be anywhere, but look it up. Hannah Gadsby. She's a Australian comic, and she does this. She does a episode. It's titled Nanette, but it is brilliant. It is one of the great, painful, beautiful, funny.
Hannah Gadsby.
Hannah Gadsby.
Oh, it's titled Nanette.
It's called Nanette. It's on. It was on Netflix. You can look for it. It is remarkably good. Like it's one of those.
I'm gonna do it.
Yeah.
I can't. I'm like, what are you talking about?
Oh, that's so funny. I'm so glad I get to be the one.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm gonna go look it up right now.
It's awesome. So,
I will send you the link. You pick a date and time, and it'll be a live recording. But I do have it on video too. It's not just,
yeah. Awesome. This is great. Thank you. I'll talk to you later.